Hello, and welcome to the Washington Farm Bureau Update, a podcast designed to provide the latest agriculture, legislative, and Farm Bureau information. All right, well, thanks everybody for tuning in. I'm Ben Tyndall, and as we're all aware, it's summertime. It's the time for pulling out those short sleeves and the sunscreen and enjoying a random trip to the coast and maybe having your kids run around the house a bit more than usual. And as far as Farm Bureau, it's also a time that we focus on our state committees and the work that's being done by our committees to support members and our policy. So we're going to spend several of our upcoming podcast episodes on talking about those various committees and talking with the various leaders of those committees. And the goal is to give you a strong idea of the work and the purpose of each of these committees that we have as part of the Washington Farm Bureau and perhaps how you can get involved in some of it. So with that said, I'm very excited to kick off this series and share with you today's episode as we're talking with Kady Porterfield about the Washington Farm Bureau's Promotion and Education Committee.
Our purpose as Washington Farm Bureau is to keep the agricultural industry alive and moving for future generations. That should be all that matters. If we work together towards that, then we're going to be even stronger and better. So that's my goal, is to keep pushing that message and keep it in mind with every program that we do moving forward so that that can be reached, hopefully. And it'll take a few years to probably build on, and it's going to take a lot of effort, and it can't be stopped, but it'll be worth it if we can get there.
Well, Kady is the recently appointed state chair for the Washington Farm Bureau's Promotion and Education Committee. I got to visit with Kady over the phone recently, and she had some great things to share with us. So let's jump in, shall we? I'm excited for you to hear from her. Kady, thank you so much for taking some time with me and talking with me about the Promotion and Education Committee. I appreciate you joining.
Yes, this is very exciting. I am so excited for it to come back and rebuild what we're going to be looking forward to on enhancing in Washington Farm Bureau with this committee.
Yes.
So it's going to be really fun, and I'm so proud to be the chair for this year.
Good. Well, there is a lot of excitement around you taking on this role. And before we really dive into this role and the committee specifically, Tell members a little bit about yourself. You've been a part of Farm Bureau for quite a while now. Tell us a little bit about your background. Where are you coming from? Where's home? And tell us a little bit maybe about your background in agriculture.
Yeah, I joined Farm Bureau about 6 years ago when I was working for the Central Washington State Fair in Yakima as the agriculture department manager. I started in the fair business because I really believe in agricultural advocacy and supporting the agricultural way of life and that lifestyle and continuing it for generations to come. So getting involved in Farm Bureau and at first Washington Young Farmers and Ranchers was where I was really keeping my focus. That was important for me to get involved to keep that partnership between ag and fairs. But I grew up on a cow-calf operation in Northern California with my family, and we also grew organic alfalfa hay. I'm the sixth generation of my family to be involved in cattle ranching, and still own my own cattle and a partner in my parents' ranch currently still down there, and help out the neighbors and my better half here with his ranching duties day to day. So cattle ranching is still very much in my blood, and I'm very involved in other associations like Washington Cattle Women. I've been president there for 4 years, and some of those other just agricultural volunteer organizations mean a lot to me for what it does. But Farm Bureau has been really special, and love all of the focus that it houses and increase my knowledge of Washington agriculture specifically. So that's been great.
Yes. What a fantastic background, though. And you bring such a wealth of knowledge to the team. That's fantastic. So now looking specifically at this new role with Farm Bureau and chairing the Promotion and Education Committee, what is kind of the mission or purpose, if a member doesn't already know, for the Promotion and Education Committee? What is its overarching theme and goal?
So I was really excited when they asked me to chair this committee, because this is kind of why I got into the fair industry for one, and something I'm really passionate about is promoting and educating about agriculture. And that's mostly to our consumers and the general public who might not be involved in agriculture. So this is kind of this perfect place for me and the committee, because we are like the brainstorm behind the marketing team for Washington Farm Bureau, and trying to bounce off new ideas and make recommendations on different programs and platforms that we might be able to implement as Washington Farm Bureau to successfully tell the story of agriculture. And not only do we want to focus on our external communication and increasing those programs in our outreach to not just general public, but voters also is very important. But we also want to communicate on our internal the importance of Washington Farm Bureau, and really emphasize the necessity for grassroots involvement in our members, because there's a lot to be done as far as marketing Farm Bureau on the inside as well. We want to really build and work towards increasing maybe even the demographic of our organization. Our agriculture is not only diverse, but now with new generations coming in, first-time farmers coming in, there's like a whole new diversity of Washington agriculturalists as well. So we're needing to make way and use new ideas and keep things moving forward to make room for them and keep Washington Farm Bureau strong.
That is an incredible perspective, and I love the scope of what you're looking at. That this is one, you're talking about looking internal and educating and equipping our current members, but then you're also looking out and trying to engage with and educate and work with those who are perhaps new to agriculture, as well as ones that may be just new to Farm Bureau. As you were talking, I was curious a little bit. When we talk about promotion, it kind of makes sense. It's more on the marketing, like you said. But as far as education, when I think of education, I automatically think of something like Ag in the Classroom or educating students. But is the education component exclusive to children and students, or what is kind of the scope of the education component of the Promotion and Education Committee?
Thank you for bringing that up, because we really want to expand that scope. Our children are so important on the education level, and we want to continue our partnerships with Ag in the Classroom and everything like that. But we really want to increase our public outreach as far as, and specifically educating the voting public of Washington.
Yeah.
There could always be way more to do on educating the voting public because they don't understand agriculture, and when bills come through, sometimes they're not going to understand how that impacts ag. Even if it's not necessarily an agricultural bill, it could still hurt ag or be affected in a major way, and people need to understand what the outcomes are going to be, when they vote one way or the other. So that's one of our goals as a committee, is to increase our programs and platforms as far as that, is reaching out to them, not just before bills are, while they're being introduced or anything like that, but after it's all said and done, just to give them some perspective. So trying to stay positive on that front, but also just being really real so that they can see the effects, because sometimes that back end story isn't told as much.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just really want to increase, not just with voters, but really just increase that storytelling aspect, and them engaging and increasing their trust in farmers and ranchers, because there's still a lot of work to be done there. If they have trust, they're going to better understand where we're coming from on issues.
Well, now talk to me a little bit about membership on this committee. So this is a committee, a standing committee, and we're encouraging each of our county farm bureaus to assign or appoint an individual from the county to be a part of the Promotion and Education Committee. So if a county is interested in taking part, or perhaps an individual that's listening to this might spark some interest and say, hey, I could get behind this. Talk to me a little bit. What does membership on this committee involve? What can members perhaps expect, or what can they get excited about engaging with?
Yeah, to me, this committee is an easy sell, and maybe it's just because I'm so passionate about advocacy and outreach when it comes to ag, but I know a lot of other people are too. And this is a great place that if you really care about touching consumers and building our network too, to keep us strong, this is the place to be. We really need participation from each county in this committee because, like I said before, Washington agriculture is so diverse, and we really have diverse opinions and needs across our state. And without input from each county, I don't believe we can do our job as a whole for the betterment of Washington Farm Bureau. So if you currently do not have a county seat, I highly encourage to get someone who is very passionate about promoting and agriculture and telling the ag story or with great ideas. This is the perfect place to be. And we've already kicked off this year, and there's some amazing ideas already starting and different things we want to do. But we're really going to be taking a look at our current programs also and going through and seeing what we need to enhance or take out or where we should shift focus to keep us building and moving forward as an organization. We're stronger together, and the more voices we have, the better.
Well, you've mentioned several times about encouraging numerous voices, encouraging diversity within the Farm Bureau, especially within this committee. How do you encourage diversity and a diverse set of opinions and perhaps even backgrounds and agricultural commodities that people are working within? How do you encourage that through the P&E committee?
Yeah, that's a great question. And for Washington Farm Bureau, there's still a lot to do on this forefront right now, which I'm really excited about because it's going to be one of our main goals. There's so many things changing that we really need to start moving forward with an open mind. And that's part of what my committee is going to be about, is making those recommendations on some of those changes so that we can build and open up some. Not everybody is going to look or act the same when it comes to being that stamp of a Farm Bureau member. We are widening and are going to need to look at people that might be different than what we are. Sure. But they all have the same goal or the same passion, and that's agriculture. We're all here for the same thing, and we want to see agriculture and our lifestyles moving forward. And I believe if we keep that end result in mind and put aside maybe some of our differences that we have amongst each other, then we're going to be okay. Because if we just remember that our purpose as Washington Farm Bureau is to keep the agricultural industry alive and moving for future generations, that should be all that matters. And if we work together towards that, then we're going to be even stronger and better. So that's my goal, is to keep pushing that message and keep it in mind with every program that we do moving forward so that can be reached, hopefully. And it'll take a few years to probably build on, and it's going to take a lot of effort, and it can't be stopped, but it'll be worth it if we can get there.
You bet it will. I really appreciate that answer and hearing from you on that. Well, looking ahead kind of over this next year, what are you looking forward to? Is there anything maybe even specific or tangible that you're looking forward to? Say, we have X, Y, and Z goals that we're looking to meet over the next year that you could share with us. What are some of your goals as you're looking ahead over the next year?
I know one of my first goals is to fill my committee with diversity and different age perspectives and different things like that, so we can have an even say across the board with lots of input. So that is one of my first goals.
That makes total sense.
So
and good goal.
Form the whole committee. Yeah,
exactly.
And then I would say definitely creating a system with more voting outreach. That's been a discussion. Our last couple meetings is how we increase our messages to our voters. So we are working on that. And if we can see some increased work on that as far as and where we're publicizing different things, that's going to be great. But I'm really looking forward to working with the committee on some of that and just really like showcasing some of our membership and especially like our new leadership coming up. There's a lot of new faces and young people that are starting to get involved as well. And I think we're seeing that from the growth that's been coming out of young farmers and ranchers the last few years and how they've continued to develop that committee. And now those members are starting to get more involved and take on these roles. So it's definitely helping, I think, some of our programs moving forward.
Great. Yes. And that is certainly something that people can get excited about. I think this will be really helpful to a lot of people to hear. Well, I want to thank Kady for taking some time and chatting with me. And if you, while listening to Kady speak, were inspired or encouraged to get involved in this important work, let us know. You can start by contacting your County Farm Bureau president, as they can certainly talk with you about this committee. Also, feel free to reach out to the state office, as we have several staff members who can answer questions, as we would love to get you plugged into this. We hope to hear from you, and with that, we'll look forward to chatting again soon. The WFB Update is a production of the Washington Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture in Washington State, ensuring our family farms continue to feed the world. To learn more, visit our website at www.wsfb.com.